Kenny Harrell Gardening Simplified. It's May 8th and it's time to do a Maine garden tour. Well, spring is definitely in the air and we definitely got our sunflowers starting to bloom. We're going to have to put us a few T-posts and string to keep these where they kind of keep contained where they're supposed to be. Let's start out over here in this new part of the garden. And as far as our shallots, you can see they're really taking off. And I can say I still haven't got up here with my fish emulsion, see if I can do some good with my ginger. Definitely my rhubarb is grabbed hold. I have a big hand, but this is a big leaf, way over 2 foot across, so it's latched in there. We still haven't finished our compost bins, but we'll get to that. Our herbs are doing good. Some of them are seeding, like our sage with beautiful flowers on it there. Now our potatoes, these had got eaten by potato bugs. We've got that under control. Now hopefully they'll recover. Of course, who knows? We'll find out later on, see how they do. We still have to get our other herbs planted over here. Now let's see, let's take a look at this. We'd harvested out all our onions that bulbed that were the early ones. Finally hooked up the drip system. And you can see how the water is pooling on top. That's a good sign that it's hydrophobic. If it doesn't get enough water, and it tends to dry on the surface, and onions need a bunch of water right now, but if it starts drying on the surface when it rains, what happens is the rain doesn't actually penetrate. It splashes down there and runs off. So we're going to do some watering with the drip system here today. We've got our jalapenos and serranos up here. They're doing good. These ones, pretty much most of them have cages. We have some golden beets down there. We've taken out just about this whole row of leek right here. We've got one that's bolting, going to seed, and then have a little one there that's left. Our collards are still good, and our cabbage is still doing good. Now these onions here, we'll see how they do if they start bulbing up. These were the ones that was youngest when they went through the cold. Now we did plant a few more in here, and we did harvest a few, but these are still good and sturdy necks. They're still growing. Hopefully we'll get a little more water on them and see what happens there. Also we have this leek here, and we've been harvesting that out. Won't be long, we'll just take this whole row out. Now these beets here, and you can see how right here is different than right here, and it's actually from right here this way was the different ones. Now these were Detroit Darks, and these are Wonder Beets, I believe was the variety of them. And we talked about them when they first come on. These really took off faster than these Detroits, but it seemed like the Detroits got to their harvesting size quicker now. But these are still looking really good. They haven't been having an issue with pests and stuff, which they could at any time. But anyway, we'll get over here to the cucumbers. Now these were the cucumbers that we just put out. You can see most of them have died. These were the ones that were in water, and I didn't realize it, and I showed that when we planted them. So what we're going to do, I've got another batch of seeds that I just did up, and we're going to replant these. The peas, we've been picking on these. You can see how they're dying at the bottom. It won't be long. These will be played out and come out. We'll put another batch of cucumbers down this row, and But these here, they were just harvested yesterday, so you're not going to see too many that's filled out. We've started getting some cucumbers out of this row here. They're doing good. Our tomatoes over here, these Cherokee purples, they're growing good. I do have one problem, and I have to find the end of my drip line so I can extend it down where they'll get watered. But like I say, I just got that hooked up today. Our new honeybees are, I'm guessing it's ours. There's honeybees zipping around here. Some of these squash, as you can see, they're starting to get affected by some blight. Won't be long. They'll be done. We've got a new batch of seeds. We're going to get those into the ground, or I say get them in. I think we already got our next batch in. These cucumbers in the middle, they were started a little bit later, so they're not producing yet. But the squash is definitely producing good down there. So and down on the cucumbers, she just picked them, and she picked a couple of squash from the front. It's not a lot, but they're just now producing, and that's my favorite time of the year. In the little greenhouse, we have some celery going. It's not looking too good. Plus, I need to get in here and weed. But I'm thinking about possibly taking it out and putting in another crop. Maybe leave this over here. It seems to be doing better. Our leek, we never did get these put out. I don't know that these would even grow now. It'd probably be better to start another one. They've just been in there way too long. This Hilton cabbage is, it's been in these cell trays since the middle of February. So it's been almost 2 months. These should be a lot bigger. They're probably most likely root bound. They're not doing good. And what they'll do is just bolt when they're planted. But I'm going to go ahead and plant these because I want some Hilton cabbage seeds. So I'll plant these, let them go ahead and bolt and seed out, and then I'll collect them. Sweet potatoes are growing us some more slips. So it won't be long. We'll be planting the rest of those rows of sweet potatoes over there. Over here, our eggplant is doing good. Our onions, they're needing water, but the drip's on today, so we'll see how that does. Same thing with the garlic, and it's about time we're going to have to get over here and weed these out again. The eggplant had been getting attacked. I think I've fixed that problem because a lot of the upper leaves are looking good now where they're coming out. I'm getting showered here. That's when you go around with your drip line on, and you can find where somehow you punctured it, and I'll need to come in and put a connector in there. But the eggplant, this variety here, is already starting to bloom. Our natapinos are starting to get a little bit of size on them. Won't be long. We'll be picking a lot of peppers on. We have them starting to flower. People worry about these flowering when they're little like this. About picking them off. They'll do great. They've got good fertilizer and everything. Over here we've got our we've got a notapino there, but these are habaneras. It's like a habanero, but it's not hot. And of course our strawberries. Now they're looking good. They still haven't got into good production. We've been cutting the runners off and trying to get them back going. They just haven't done real well. We're getting a few strawberries off in there, but it's just not been a lot like we would expect. Now in here is like a jungle. We have fig trees all over, getting the light where they can. And they're doing good. These were all the ones that were started at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. We got some parsley here. It's almost ready to harvest. These cucumbers here are just now, they haven't really started getting any size to them. They're just now getting to where they're producing. Hopefully won't be long, I'll get some slicers. This is holy basil, and it's always kind of slow to grow. We have our Kajara melons at the side over there. They're just now starting to vine a little bit so we can train them to go outside. This is cilantro. It's almost ready to start harvesting. Now we have bok choy here, and it doesn't look good. And this was some older ones, so I expect it to bolt, but it'll make good chicken food. And this was pak choy in here, and as you can see, it's bolting, which we're fixing to cut all of it out. We have a few more strawberries that we were trying to propagate to fill out the row, but we've already got what we needed. Over here, we have some bok choy. Been harvesting a little bit of this. Some of it is going to seed, so we're harvesting it for the chickens. And it's easy to see when they start to flower down in there. You can eat them like that if you want. It's not going to affect the flavor, but the chickens just love that stuff. Right in here we have some cabbage, early Jersey, I believe, and then we have our lacinato kale. We lost a few plants. We had ants coming in here and deciding to eat it up, and we do have some cabbage to replace that. We've got our purple varieties of cabbage here. I don't know which ones because I had planted a bunch of different ones, and some of these didn't come up. And now we talk about weeds. A lot of times you end up weeding and you get weeds in your garden. And a weed is anything that's out of place. Because this here, this is a tomato plant. But this is also a weed because this isn't where it's supposed to be. Now you could leave it, let it grow. I mean, it's just like chickweed. They call it a weed, but it's actually edible, an edible plant. Now we have our lettuce here. This, we just have a little patch of lettuce to keep us supplied. We picked it yesterday. Is leaf lettuce, and it won't be long it'll bolt. We have a few, well, one variety that's trying to stretch out now. Plenty of basil, and some of it's flowering. And our jalapenos, I've been getting a few jalapenos off of here. They're steadily trying to produce little ones. And of course, they will get bigger. Our tomatoes are a good 7 foot or so high. About time for me to clip them again. And they're definitely, they've got lots of cherry tomatoes on these ones. They just loaded up. We've taken and we moved all our trees to this row. That row needs composted. This one is ready to go. We've got some more red cabbage we're going to put in here so it'll keep from getting as hot, and we can grow it out just like that over there. All our little trees, of course, we've got citrus trees, pomegranates. We've got a couple of elderberries, all different kinds of trees in here. We got a couple of bananas, and all these will have to have places. We've got lime trees that have limes. And there's a little Meyer lemon that was air layered. That's being it was air layered, it goes ahead and produces fruit. And you might think this is a lot of fruit for this little bitty tree. But this tree, if it gets to be too much, it'll drop its fruit off. That's just the way nature is. We have another Meyer lemon here that's loaded up. We come up and we got our bell pepper plants. Now these have been producing good. They've got a bunch of little bell peppers on them. And these were the ones that I put in early, so I'd have some bell peppers to eat. Now, and of course, this is our grapefruit. This was our single seed challenge for last year, and it's getting some size to it. It needs pruned, so it'll start branching out a little bit different. I don't want it to get real big. We have our tomatoes here. This is a cherry, the cherry that got mixed in. We've got a pretty good bunch of our first batch of celebrity tomatoes. Won't be long, but we're getting a big flush of the other ones. And for those of you who don't know, tomatoes don't get pollinated a lot of times by your bees. They like certain types of pollen, so what they'll do is they'll go after the ones that they like, and they'll leave the ones that they don't prefer. So you might see occasional bee, but a lot of years I don't even see the bees on my tomatoes, and they weren't producing. Well, it's just a matter of going around and shaking these plants like this. Now all those flowers are pollinated, and that's why you see on these lower ones that they're loaded up with tomatoes, because when they first start flowering, I take and do that. Now we've got some more plants that's going out. These little red cabbage here are going to go in the greenhouse. We have 3 avocado trees here. Now I tried to grow avocados for a long time, and I never could. And so I handed the seeds over to my daughter, and she grew about a dozen of those seeds out. And I got 3 plants here. Of course, she didn't want 12 plants. And so these will grow up. We have more fig trees. We have our wonderful pomegranate here that we need to figure out where we're going to put it. We have our next batch of cilantro and some basil and a couple of lettuce. And hopefully that lettuce will produce. We picked up a couple more blueberries because we've got 2 that are questionable. And we have another mango. My last one died, so we got this new one, and hopefully it's going to survive. These are the cucumbers that'll go out. In fact, I'm going to put those out today. Now as we go over here, of course, our asparagus is doing good. Our rosemary's doing real good, and chives. We've stopped cutting our asparagus, so we're letting this go now, and give some energy to the roots. Now I have a little bit of cilantro. This is what I've been harvesting for my breakfast. Of course, I'm going to have to switch to the other. As you can see, these leaves look different on here when they start looking perforated, and instead of like the lower ones where they're more solid. This means that's shooting up, and you can see where it's shooting up right there. This is bolting or going to seed, just like this cilantro over here. And what this is, if I left it, this is going to form seeds, or coriander. It's bolting into coriander, and this will form the coriander seeds if you leave it. Now I'm going to cut this out. I don't need any coriander seeds. My dill is also bolting. I'm going to let some of this go to seed, so I'll have some fresh dill seed to replant, but a lot of it I'll just cut out. I got a new batch of seeds started. They haven't come up yet, but it won't be long. And we'll stop here and take a little short photo. We've got a few squash today. We've been picking every day, so we can make sure that they don't get too big. We can talk more about weeds. This plant right here, some of you probably recognize it, some might not, but it looks like we've got another calamine flower, or chamomile, excuse me. in the midst of our curly leaf parsley. Our echinacea is really doing good. It's fixing to start blooming. I have a bunch of seed that I collected last year I wanted to put out in the field and haven't quite done it. In here we have our chamomile, and we've harvested a bunch of blooms off of this yesterday, or I say my daughter did, and we're drying them. These sunflowers are like the others. They need to be put T-post here and prop them up, but we have some lovely blooms. It won't be long. The bees should be in here after them. I had to take a little break. I had a leak over there, and it was a little bigger than the little squirting one, so I had to take care of that. Anyway, we have our habanero peppers up here. We had cleaned out this row from the red lettuce, and as you can see, we cut them off, but apparently we got a few that want to grow back. And our rutabagas, they're starting to get some size now. If you remember, before these were infected with aphids, which we sprayed them with some soapy water, and that pretty much took care of them. So they're doing good. We've been harvesting some of them out. We've got we put in some more poblanos. We had a few extra peppers, went ahead and put them in. Our chard is not looking too good. We did harvest out some of the better leaves, and I need to come in here and cut out a lot of these bad leaves. And our spinach, it's pretty much done. It looks like it's starting to climb, so it's probably going to start seeding. We do have some radishes, French breakfast, and I'm going to have to say these have got a little bit too big. So we're going to have to take them out. Our little onions we put in to fill in our garlic row, they're starting to take hold. What's left of these onions, they're starting to bulb up, the ones that we come in and reseeded. And our garlic's doing pretty good. Now we had some onions where if I had a little bitty onion, I just stuck a bunch of them in a hole together. And you can see they still do pretty good. Some will make a pretty good sized onion. I'm going to have to turn the sprinkler on here, but I wait until after I did my video because my peppers seem to be a little bit dry. We did have a little bit of worms trying to attack our cabbage. We took and sprayed this yesterday, and I think pretty much took care of it. But I was noticing yesterday these peppers in here seem to be a little bit dry, and looks like maybe ants got to one right there. So we have to deal with that. But anyway, these cabbages are getting ready. They're filling out. They're plenty big enough for the market as far as that goes. So we'll be harvesting them. More peppers here. More peppers here. For those of you that think that we do a cleanup before a video, I don't. This row here was where we had our red onions and some of the white ones, and we're waiting for the compost place to have some more bulk compost, hopefully Thursday of this week, so in a few days. I hope tomorrow, but that's probably not going to happen. And down here, our broccoli, we've been harvesting it. We harvested out a lot of it this past weekend. We'll probably have to harvest some in the middle of the week because these are getting about 5.5, 6 inches, and I like them small. I just like them small, and when they start getting too big, they start loosening off. These are not as tight as they was last week, so we'll have to take these out and go ahead and blanch them and vacuum pack and freeze. We do have our other cabbage, which I just passed by. Now this is not doing too well. We eat a few of these or give them to the chickens. Our red cabbage, this is doing pretty good. Hopefully we'll be getting to sample some here in the next month. But we have been doing pretty good about not having too bad a pest problem. We've had some, but it's been not too bad. Now, I talked about our next batch of squash. This is our zucchini and coquelette. And then we have some yellow squash in here, a few of them. These are our banana peppers, and those are our big bell peppers. This is some sprouting broccoli. Now, sprouting broccoli never has a tight head. It's a little bitty like this, got a picket little bitty like that. And I figured I'd try it again, see how much better it did. And it's not really very much better. This other variety here is the Walham, and it's not doing very good. It might do good in the winter, but it's definitely not doing good in the spring when the temperature's right. Now we have some more yellow squash right in here. And we harvested a bunch of cabbage out of here. This was the Champion, which the flavor is good on it, surprisingly. Now we're going to try to grow it. I think it's like an all season, or maybe I have one that's called all season. And we're going to try to grow it in warmer weather. Now, sometimes in a little head like this will split. Now, sometimes they split when they're going to go to seed. Either way, this one will go out to the chickens. Sometimes you got to harvest them really little, just to make sure they're in good shape. Now, as we go over here to our tomatoes, we've been fighting to get motivated to do the Florida weave. They need to be done again. These are our celebrities. This one here is our Rutgers. And then we start getting into Kellogg's breakfast, some Cherokee purples. We got some German Johnsons, a bunch of cherry tomatoes, and we had slacked off. It's just like right now. This is out in the row. It needs weaved up. But we had a lot of them where they actually touched the ground, like right here, touched the ground, rooting in, and we had to start them back up. Whenever you do the Florida weave, it takes a lot of work. My wife says, we need to just bite the bullet and buy some more, another roll of concrete mesh and make some containers. It is kind of expensive, roughly about a little over $8 a piece, but they last for 20 or more years. Down here we have, these are our Hatch green chilies in this row, and then we have a mixture of a lot of other hot peppers in these other rows. Now we will not be putting baskets on these. We talked about getting some more, and we said no, let's just not bother with it. Let's let them go. The commercial growers don't use baskets when they put theirs out in the field, so we'll see how that goes. And we're down here to the end. We've got a row here needs planted, and part of one there. The apple trees have got pretty good leaves. Now this apple tree here, which it bloomed in a bunch of places, but the only one, and it's hard for me to find it. I know it's up there somewhere. That's sitting right up in here. We've got apples on it, but the only ones that had apples were the ones that I hand pollinated. I definitely need to, after it gets warmer, I need to do some summer pruning on these and start shaping them, get them to lean out the direction I want. And last in the garden here, we'll go down to the blueberries. Now we've got, like I say, we had a couple of questionable plants. We have one that is down there that well, this one here, it's barely got a little leafy growth at the bottom of it, and we've got this one that looks like it might be coming back. It actually has a leaf coming out higher too on it, but we'll see how it does. But we've got some plants to put in there if we have to. But we do have a bunch of blueberries forming on here from our different varieties. So hopefully we'll get a good taste of blueberries this year. But that looks like that about sums it up. So I hope you enjoyed the tour. I hope your garden's doing good, or you're making plans for a good garden. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe, hit that bell button, select all, and share this video. And of course, give it a big thumbs up. Enjoy that gardening experience.